All right, guys, we are going to be reacting to This Is Why So Many Americans Are Moving to Russia. Thank you so much for the support, guys. I don't know how truthful this story is, but we can simply react to it and see what's the feedback regarding him or whoever moved to Russia. Let's jump in.
So I want to tell you the story of an American couple that moved to Russia.
All right. Hello, everybody. We are the Huffman family. We are the first official family living in the American village in the Moscow region.
Russian food, Russian food, Russian food, Russian food.
The Russian army is no joke. These guys are tough.
You know, I signed up for this, and it's my honor to defend our new country, and we can get this victory.
They posted a video in the last couple of days begging for help because this woman's husband has been sent to the front lines through the Russian meat grinder without any training.
He was told he would not be training for 2 weeks and going straight to the front lines. They are going to put him on the front lines. So we are all praying really hard that he could actually be utilized for his skills and not just be put as a fighter.
And this happened literally 24 hours after another American woman who fled to Russia in 2019 was attacked for her race. She literally produced a film with Russia Today when she got to Moscow.
Why did I make up my mind to move to Russia? I wanted to leave a country where I was facing discrimination.
Saying she moved there for her safety because people of color were treated better in Russia. And what unites both of these people is that they were both lied to by Russian propaganda. But that doesn't necessarily mean they got their propaganda because they were reading Kremlin newspapers or watching Russia Today. They probably read it in the New York Times. And literally, if you buy a copy of the New York Times today, you'll find a giant feature, a feature about Kursk, a feature written by a journalist in Moscow. A feature written by a journalist in Moscow who is embedded with Russian troops. And you don't get embedded with Russian troops without having every single word approved by the Kremlin, which means every single word in this article is approved by Moscow. In the New York Times, one of America's most read newspapers. And let's actually look at what this article says. First of all, you open it up, and of course it's one of their biggest features. It shows a soldier looking miserable, looking sad in a church that's damaged. But that's interesting because it shows the New York Times is really upset about churches being destroyed. But if you do a search for that, there's nothing about the churches damaged in Izium, and there's nothing about the churches and cathedrals destroyed in Odessa and here in Bucha, destroyed by Russia. There's nothing about the priests that were tortured in Kherson. So it looks like the only time the New York Times are pearl clutching about Christianity being under attack is when it's done by Russians in their own towns. And that is exactly what happened in Kursk. I was there in November, 2 days before the counteroffensive started, the one that North Koreans were involved in. And the very streets that are photographed in this article were completely intact when I was there. You can see this in the footage, that's why I filmed it. And those villages only got destroyed when the counteroffensive started, when North Korean troops and Russian troops started bombing the shit out of every single residential neighborhood to try and take it back. But if you read the New York Times article, it assumes that it was Ukrainians. But again, I was there months into the incursion and none of that damage was on camera. And that's not the only thing. The article...
So you really don't know. He's saying that, but he could be a propagandist as well. You really don't know. You really don't know when it comes down to stuff like this. Because we see the Canadian family, they're doing very well. They're doing very well. I mean, if the American dude went to Russia and wanted to serve to the Russian army, he thought it was going to be something different. He thought he was going to get some privileges or something. I don't understand.
It's filled with quotes from Russian residents that were living in Suja and living in these towns, saying that they couldn't even look Ukrainian soldiers in the eye, that they were terrified the whole time, that there was genocide being carried out, and that residents were basically being shot in the street by Ukrainians, which is weird, because when I was there were children cycling through the streets, there were people collecting aid, food, and bread. I asked people what their main concerns were, and they told me it was that they couldn't get cell phone signal because of the drones in the sky, which is the opposite of what the New York Times published. And what's also completely different about the account that she wrote and the account that I published is that I didn't need approval from this country to publish that story, because this country actually has press freedom. The only thing I was asked to do was censor some of the soldiers' positions, literally to protect them, which is completely normal for war journalism. And I know this sounds crazy and shocking from something like the New York Times, but it actually isn't. If you look at articles published in the 1930s, specifically 1933, They were heavily criticized for talking about Hitler's rise because something that was good. Deborah Lipstadt talked about this herself. And they did it during the Holodomor. They whitewashed the atrocities by the USSR, and now they're whitewashing the atrocities committed by Russians. And this is where the fundamental problem comes with information and with our media, because the news media is obsessed with the idea of balance, that in every conflict, there are always two sides that should be treated equally. And that isn't the case with every war, and it's not the case with what's happening in Ukraine. And it's important to remember a very basic fact. Russia invaded this country in 2014. Russia invaded this country in 2022. Russia is the aggressor, and writing about it like it's two siblings having an argument is bullshit. But this is the fun.
Yeah, but hold on. There's a called there was an American guy called the Red Pill Coach, I think was his name. Very good guy. The only thing, you know, he used to just upload videos in favor of Russia and just exposing Zelensky's Zelensky government. He got deleted by the Ukrainians, man. He was just a regular independent reporter. He was an independent journalist. He got deleted by the Ukrainian government. Allegedly, right? Allegedly. I have to say that, allegedly. So he's the problem with a lot of Westerners, man. They have to choose a side by not understanding the conflict. This is my opinion, right?
Fundamental reason that I went to Kursk, because I knew exactly what Russia was going to do as soon as they took it back, and that was to put out lies and propaganda. And if you watch Russia today, the second Russians set foot back in Suja, they did exactly that. But when I woke up and decided to make this video this morning, I didn't want you to just take my word for it, so I called up my friend who also went to Kursk about 3 months before I did. His name is Tom Much, and I sat down with him this afternoon. Right, so I'm just with Tom in a local cafe just here in the center of Kyiv, and we're going to chat about his experience in Kursk. You spent a little bit more time talking to actual people there, right? I spoke to only 2 or 3 locals who said they were given water, they were fine. The only complaints they had was the cell phone network had gone down, so they couldn't contact relatives. What did they tell you that was different to the article?
So what I saw is, it was very interesting. We were going in with a group of Ukrainian soldiers, and one of them got a call on his radio being like, yeah, there's a Russian drone inbound, we need to get cover. And so we ended up going to a basement, and that basement was full of about 20, 30 like Russian civilians who were still living there. Now, obviously, they weren't having a very nice time. It was very cold, and it was dark and damp. However, the Ukrainians were bringing them food and water. Ukrainian medics, if people had, injuries or they had, some kind of infection or something, they were being treated.
I love how the title says this is why so Americans are moving to Russia, and then we're talking about this. You see? And then he's the one talking about propaganda. Isn't that funny?
Given all of the essentials.
Yeah, talk about propaganda. Look at what you just... Look at your title. Look at your title.
They need. I'm not saying they had a good time, but let's compare that to say how Russian occupiers treated Ukrainian civilians in Bucha or Kherson or Mariupol, where that at the absolute best they didn't care at all about their lives.
I don't understand what's this point. I don't know. Okay, I feel zero sympathy for that guy who joined the Russian army. Probably, yeah, like he thought it was gonna be the same as the United States. No, man, they handle things differently. Living a middle-class life in the United States to move to Russia is the most brain-dead decision I've ever heard. Anybody who thinks Russia is better alternative to the United States should move there. Good riddance to ignorance and stupidity. Moving to Russia to escape racism. It's like, yeah, I mean, this is Black Americans, right? This is how they think. They only think that the United States, the only place their racism. I saw the video of the black lady just, it was not racist at all. It was something else. And really, we were not there to justify or to just judge, to be honest. You have to be careful a lot of these videos. Isn't that funny the way that he just put this is why so Americans are moving to Russia. And then he just go to this stuff right here. Isn't that funny? He's the one saying the propaganda is real, but at the same time put propaganda. Nothing to do with Americans moving to Russia. Only in the first 2 minutes of the video. And then all of a sudden he just that's my opinion. I don't know, man. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I would love to hear your guys' opinions. I'll see you next in the mouth.